Donald Trump just signed an order that could slash home prices by $50,000. Here's what you need to know. According to Trump's order, Americans can't afford homes in part due to regulatory requirements that increase the cost of building a home by 25%. According to a report by the National Association of Home Builders, regulation imposed during the development process account for 10.4% of the price to build a home for sale, while regulations during the construction phase account for 13.2% of the price of a home built for sale. For apartment buildings, they shared that regulations increase costs by 40%, which I have to assume impact the rents. The order says that regulation has imposed almost $50,000 in cost on the average American. The reality of it is, the real numbers might be a lot worse than that. So the median home sales price in the United States is about $420,000. If the regulatory cost went down from 25% to 10% and builders pass that savings on to the buyer, the price of that home will be reduced by $63,000. Now, for many of you watching, the average home price in your area is a lot more than $420,000. So imagine cutting that price by 15%. Let me know in the comments, if the homes where you live decreased by $50,000, would you be able to afford it? I would love to hear from you. If you're unsure about if affordability has really gotten worse, what I'm going to share next will change your mind. In 1964, the median household income was $6,569, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. That same year, the typical home price was $18,925. Fast forward to 2022, the median household income was up to $74,580, which is more than 10 times what it was in 1964. However, in the same year, the typical home price was $432,950. So I'm sure you see the problem that we have here. And the crazy thing is, in cities like Los Angeles, where the median household income is about $75,000, the median home sales price is about $1 million. So the disparity is even greater. And unfortunately, it's like this in many cities all over the country. In my opinion, if there is significant relief in home prices over the next few years, it'll go a long way for everybody. Next, I want to discuss something that's not really being talked about online. According to the National Association of Home Builders, the cost of building materials has increased by 38% since 2020. The cost of lumber is estimated to be 4 times as high as it was in 2021, according to their study. Now, all of those things have increased the prices of single-family homes by at least $30,000. So you're kind of getting the picture here, right? If it costs more to make, it's going to cost more to buy. That's typically how it works with any other product, and housing is no exception. So one suggestion that the Home Builders Association has is to eliminate tariffs on goods coming from Canada and from China. As many of you know, Trump wants to have 25% tariffs on goods coming from Canada, and the last I read, he's considering a 10% tariff on goods coming from China. In addition to this, there will also be tax breaks for companies that manufacture their goods in the US. So my question is, can we produce enough lumber and other materials in the States to satisfy the demand of everyone who's trying to build homes right now? They also suggest increasing the domestic supply of lumber from federally owned land. This is a great idea, but the problem is the forestry sector has had a really hard time hiring people. According to Rajan Parajuli, hope I pronounced that correctly, an associate professor of forest economics and policy at NC State, up to 30% of softwood lumber consumed in the U.S. each year comes from Canada. So many believe that the tariffs will increase the cost of goods for Americans. Do you think Trump should reconsider these tariffs? Do you think not having tariffs will reduce the cost of homes? Let me know in the comments. Here's why increasing housing supply is on Trump's agenda and the reality of the situation. So the US has a shortage of 1.5 million homes, and according to some sources, that might be as high as 3 million or more. We've had a supply issue for many years, and we haven't built enough. So back in 2006, over 1.8 million homes were built. We all know that in the years following, the real estate market crashed. And by 2009, we were down to 353 homes being built. In the years following, that number stayed well under 1 million and did not get back to 1 million until February 2020. There was a big dip in April 2020, and we all know what was happening at that time. We then reached a new peak of 1.28 million in December 2020, and it's honestly been up and down ever since. The point here is we are in desperate need of building more houses. So if states and cities reduce a lot of the red tape that makes building take a long time, will it help speed up building houses? Yeah, of course it will. But the problem is it's going to take years to catch up. As we just saw that chart, we are way behind where we should be. In any case, it should absolutely be a top priority. Another factor that's impacting inventory is the lock-in effect. So the lock-in effect is when homeowners who have a low interest rate don't want to sell because they don't want to give up that low interest rate for a 7% interest rate, for example. So the idea is that it doesn't make sense to sell because of not only the high interest rates, but also the high prices. According to Redfin, 85% of homeowners have an interest rate below 6%. And as of the recording of this video, the interest rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage is about 7%. And let me just rant for a little bit. There's one thing that I've heard and seen online that's blaming baby boomers for the housing shortage as if they owe it to anybody to sell their homes, especially if they're sitting on a tremendous amount of equity and they're comfortable in their homes. I don't really understand the headlines that are blaming boomers for the housing shortage. So you let me know what you think about that. Let me know in the comments. Is there truly a housing shortage in your opinion? Do you think there are other reasons why there is a shortage of houses being built or on the market? I would love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. So this next shift could have a big impact on where homes can be constructed throughout the country. But first, I need you to hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to get better at real estate investing, you got to follow this channel. So Trump mentions that he wants to use federal land to build additional homes. So he said these zones will be ultra low tax and ultra low regulation, one of the great, really small business job creation programs it will be of all time. We're going to open up our country to building homes inexpensively so young people and other people can buy homes. So here's the challenge with this approach, which I think is a good idea. The government owns 27% of land nationwide, and a lot of it is in the western part of the country and is far away from where people want to live and where people want to work in many cases. However, if companies are incentivized to create jobs in certain areas, that could change everything. As we see in Abilene, Texas, with the whole AI data center that's coming there, that town is probably going to boom. And that is not a major city, and it's several hours away from the next major city. So it could happen. So here are the states where the federal government owns the largest percentage of land. So Nevada, 80%, Utah, 64%, Idaho, 61.9%, Alaska, 60.9%, Oregon, 53.4%, Wyoming, 48.14%, California, 45.77%, Arizona, 38.61%, Colorado, 35.9%, New Mexico, 34.7%. Let's take a closer look at Clark County, home of Las Vegas, and how federal land is shaping new developments. Of the 5.14 million acres within the county, 4.53 million acres, 88% is administered by the federal government. And as you can see here, the different departments that control the land, so the Bureau of Land Management, National Park Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Department of Defense, USDA Forest Service, et cetera, et cetera. And you're probably thinking that there's no building on this federal land being built based on the departments that control it. I have good news though. In October 2024, the Bureau of Land Management, which is what BLM stands for, officials sold 20 acres of public land for $100 per acre to Clark County, which is below market price. The land was appraised at almost $20 million. The county is planning to build affordable housing on that land, which is located at Cactus Avenue between Rainbow and Buffalo. Clark County officials have named this development Cactus Trails. The land will soon house 210 single-family homes, along with walking trails, a playground, and other amenities. County officials say those homes will be sold to first-time home buyers that earn at or below $70,000 a year. Now, I think this is a really great idea. And if other states and areas can replicate something like this, then you never know what can happen. But this was very encouraging to see. I wasn't aware anything like this was going on. So you let me know what you think about that in the comments. Should more local areas do this? And should there be income restrictions for those who can purchase these homes? Now let's hear what critics of Trump's plans have to say. So there are many who believe if cities and states reduce regulations and the cost of those regulations for home builders, that they won't actually pass on that cost savings to the end buyer. Now, I definitely understand that concern. It is absolutely legitimate, especially these days, but I think we should still hope for the best. You never know. In my personal opinion, I would think if you are a builder and you actually do pass on that cost savings or other incentives to the end buyer, you'll probably sell your homes much faster than your competitors. Let me know in the comments, do you think builders and developers would pass on any cost savings to you in the forms of a lower home price? There are also many who believe mass deportations will actually increase the cost of housing. And the reason many people say this is because there is a belief out there that many of the construction workers are here illegally and working for very low wages, and that if they leave, that there will be fewer people working, which will increase the cost to have someone work on the construction of a home. And the other thought is that the US is not producing enough construction workers to meet the demand. According to the National Association of Home Builders, in any given month, there's a shortage of roughly 400,000 construction workers, and home builders will need to add 2.2 million new workers over the next 3 years just to keep up with the demand. Now, for this, I blame the school system 100%. The reality of it is that every kid is being pushed to college when those who are gifted in working with their hands and doing things with the trades are not being exposed to those trades at an early enough age. And as we all know, there's great money to be made in trades. Let me know in the comments though, why do you think that we have a shortage of construction workers and people working in the trades? Overall, I think there are some good things in this order, and the challenge is where we got right now in the housing market, we didn't get there overnight. And what that means is that we are not going to get out of it overnight. It could take several or even more years to really make progress in some of these areas, because as we talked about today, it's a big mess with a lot of competing factors. It's a multi-layered issue, and I'm hopeful that we can get out of this ridiculous housing market we're in right now. But if we do, it's gonna take time. So I think we should be patient, do the best that you can to prepare for your opportunity, whether your opportunity comes now or in the next couple of years. So if investment properties where you live are simply too expensive, I encourage you to consider investing out of state. Me living in a very expensive state, that's what I had to do, and it's been life-changing over the past 6 years. So if that's something you're interested in, go to the pinned comment of this video, click the link, and you can learn more about how I can support you in reaching that goal. Now that you know more about Trump's housing plan, I want you to learn about the best states to buy land. Check out this video right here.